Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Returned. You're not alone on this path, and you were meant to be here. Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Today we sit down with Raad, an astrologer, channel of Source, and soon-to-be author. Raad's work is all about awakening humanity, sharing what happens beyond death, and breaking free from the matrix. I am so excited to open this space for a deep and honest conversation about the nature of reality and our true potential. Welcome to The Returned, Raad. Can you give us a glimpse into the life of who you were before your profound moments? And also, how did your beliefs shape the person you were before that?
It's great you just use the word person, because that gives me a transference point into your question. You said it used to be a person. The word person is shaped from the word persona, which is literally translated to actor or character in a story. So when I was the first maybe 20 years of my life, a little more, there was a character development like everyone has. But at a certain point, reptilian forces, matrix, all of these things that I witnessed around me, always following me and taking the energy of other appearing humans, and always having the same theme of kind of an attack, not physical attack usually, but more of a metaphysical attack, psychic attack, mental attack, emotional attack. What happened is, what I was originally is a very normal, human. Then the normality starts to break down when you witness their temporary appearances, the particles, which is a gift that I was given to initiate this process of awakening. To stabilize through it is also a process known as ego death, and you go through many. Some go through a few, some go through many until it's gone. And what I used to be is much more full of that identity, that residue that is created. There's a certain texture that it holds that's very dense. That's where humans live, in that third dimension, and where I've been ascended to through focused devotion, because all God wants, God is within you, and all Source wants is devotion, your honest devotion. And it's okay, we're not perfect. You're not here to be perfect. So some days, it's been a lot of oscillation back and forth. But how I got from what I used to be, which is being in that system, believing so much in the way they made it, where you have to have fear, and if you're not going to have money, what are you going to do? How are you going to make it out there? Survival state. It's all survival state, root chakra, putting you into the lower plane of existence, because that's where you're most susceptible to the lower realm, lower entities. I'm going to use very subtle words as much as I can. So now I'm in this space where it keeps pulling back off of that screen of life where those characters are. And you are a character to an extent, but then eventually there's a detachment. I'm sure you've heard, if you want to manifest, you have to detach. The detachment, the root of that is first in truth. So you detach from the untrue. Then you also learn to detach from the things that materialistic play, the mind program, all that conditioning, everything that you absorbed, because a child takes on everything that the mother didn't heal, anything generational karma. So they have to, through awareness, through evolution, work that out of the system, which is the consciousness, the mind. Because where is the mind? It doesn't have a location. Anyone who can think it's here, no, because there's something much greater, much more broad, aware of the mind. Just like you say my body, you say my mind. There's a my here. You don't know the my. You're speaking blindly most of the time, and you're walking in a loop, following whatever that entity has you doing. That entity has been on the earth for thousands of years. It is the residual effect of what was left from Atlantis. And it was also the same ones who took Jesus from the planet. They have a certain thing with music, what they do in the world currently, influencing the mind, influencing beings to believe it. It's a spell. English, you're spelling, casting spells. So people are constantly affirming things. If you're listening to the music that these entities write, what you're doing is you're putting yourself further in that filter further in that illusion. And that allows an intrusion from that lower force. So to answer your question, I know it was an expanded answer, but to answer the question, it is now the differential from what I was and now is that I have had a repulsion from the elusive dark entity that controls majority of humanity, because the purpose of this timeline for any being who can awaken to shift the dimensional experience for all beings who are experiencing human life on any timeline in any space. It's not all linear and the same. It's not all one planet. There are billions of planets. Everyone is existing on their own screen. What connects everything is the spirit, the consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is separation. The world creating these things about countries, race, gender, ego, money, all these things getting lost in money, especially is what I mean by saying that, like where it's you're holding on to it, you're fixated, because that's the lack, that's the scarcity. That's one of the things I teach in my videos. One of the things I talk about is how to remove that layer of fear. And I know it's very difficult at certain points because the whole conditioning, that's why children are put out there at such a young age. The whole system is put in place so that the loop continues on that perpetual cycle. So that's all they know. So they go and they learn in a system of false knowledge, blocked history, removed civilizations, advanced civilizations, just the same way they block things in the earth. You don't know many places in the earth, not on the earth only, but in the earth that exist. And the same thing was done with history, with numbers. They teach all of the lower things with numbers. They don't teach you the higher energetic purposes of numbers and how the universe communicates magical metaphysical abilities through numbers. And then they also teach you not the true meaning of words. They teach you a very blank meaning of words and not how you're affirming your reality constantly. Because I'll give you one hint at it right now, at least one. There are many words that start with CON. Icon, the ones who work for this entity, and they've already said it. You can look it up. They say that they sold themselves. I won't finish the rest of that sentence, but
I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
and they have to admit it. And they do this thing with the one eye.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to
Yeah. I know
screenshot it.
exactly where we're going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep it as vague as possible, but direct at the same time.
Thank you.
Yes, and the purpose of me mentioning this is because they hold the name what? Icon. They're telling, so what is the I? Usually, so when God first manifested into existence, he says, I am. He didn't see something first. He said, I am, and then existence manifests. So your I is your most powerful initiation. And what is this? Third eye. In English, EYE, I is the same as I am. It's very purposeful because you're the seer, you're the observer, awareness. So to come back to the first question about what is the difference, how did I start, where I've ended up, coming back, detachment and being more aware of life instead of getting caught up in the tracks that the enemy puts in your place. That enemy,
Right.
that reptilian force, they slipped in from another universe. I know we're all over the place right now, but everything I ever say will lead to the same place in the end. This is why it's channeled with such assurance and directive
Okay.
knowledge, because it's leading to the same space. The space is within you, because if you're living outside, external, what is that word? Without. So you're without, but when you're here, within. Within, you're not in lack and you're not in fragmentation, separation from your source, which is what that entity thrives off of. That's why they do that with the system when they put children out there at such a young age, separation. Because when the child first goes into the world, if they're not shown this truth, then the veil thickens. This is why humans are admired, beings are admired when they go here, because this is the only planet with money, only planet with the species with all these emotions and feelings available. It's very difficult and you forget. But the greatest experiment through the human experiment is that now there's a major transition happening where there's such validated knowledge, not just because I'm not speaking through intellect. I'm speaking experientially. If I was speaking through intellect, then this would be about 25% as potent. But it's from experience, everything I say. I've seen them. I know what they are. It's very obvious too. You can look at moments of them shape-shifting. You can look at moments with the eye when they
Yeah,
change
I've
from
seen
human
that.
to that. And these things are not accidental. The rational mind that you have that they conditioned, it works for them. So you have to ask, whose voice is this? You have to always check that voice. That is where Jesus was tested 40 days and 40 nights, because this voice it can show up through creatures. For him, it was a snake. and other creatures. It can be through people around you and through the inner voice. That's why not everyone is real. There's a thing called an NPC. This is all
That's
symbolism
right.
of ones. In the movie The Matrix, the agent can take over the body of these characters. It's because there's not necessarily a soul there. And here's the real tricky thing. Even if there's a soul there, there can still be something that we know as a possession. That's when the soul is so dull, so disconnected. There's not much spark left, very minimal. It's still there. So the darkness is, it wants that light, but it mostly wants the pure light beings who are here, who are very present and open. And you, if you're hearing this message and it's resonating, you must be that. 99% chance that you're that. Because the resistance comes from that conditioning, from the program. The ego is built in that program. When the child is put out there into the world, the ego gets built up. They believe that their I am goes from I am consciousness, I am presence, to I am this body. But your advantage is it's in front of you all the time because people are saying, my body is sore. So you're separate from it already. It's in the
Mm.
English. English is a duality. There's a negative connotation where you're manifesting through this music, sick, making you sick music, right? Look at the
You know
spelling.
that, can I stop for 1 second there? I wanted to, just because you just said that, that is very odd. I was just thinking about that because music causes me to have really bad anxiety. Like, I mean, really bad. So I can only listen to high frequency or like natural music, right?
Right.
But when you said that, that reminds me of what it does. And it does do that. It causes so much angst when I hear it. Why is that?
This is because of the frequency alteration that they've done. So I want to tie it in. Before I go any further, whenever I mention Jesus, he is not the only way. They have changed his words and used it as a false worship to where you worship something outside of yourself. And I have direct communication with him from beyond this plane. I come from the same space as he does, and any being also does. But you have to recognize, you're here for self-recognition, but you have to filter out the deception. The doubt, the word doubt belongs to the devil. The word truth belongs to God. So the solidarity in what I'm speaking removes that deceptive force that says, oh, this guy's just making things up. You know, that wants to keep you in the box. When you're in that box, you're susceptible to possession. Now, what is a double meaning of that word? I'm going to get to the music in a second. But the double meaning, not many words have a double meaning so strong. Possession. Possession, things you accumulate in life that they condition the children and people to go work for a system and working for someone outside of yourself, making a little bit of paper, while the servants for that dark entity, um, they make millions, right? But they're also cloned, and they're deep down, if they were a being at some point, they're miserable, but then some of them are happy and they like being stuck. I learned this a long time ago. They like being stuck here because in infinity, they have knowledge. They also, because of the reptilian energy within them, they have certain abilities, like they're not changing their form, they're changing what you perceive. So now this is a connection to the music now. What they're doing with the music and why they're paid so much is because they're sending signals of dark energy through subliminal messages and through the lyrics itself, right? Think of a song saying like how sad you are, broken you are, drinking alcohol, need to party, money, violence, all these darker, lower things. Everything is putting you in the root chakra, red, dead. If you're in the red, you're moving dead. They want you like that because you're unconscious, right? So if you're unconscious, that's what the music is. That's the whole premise of the music. Not all music, 95% at least though, is for that. That's why you know the term, maybe the industry, these things,
Yeah.
and people where it's much more popular, especially in the US, but in the whole world, they're out there, even in the Middle East, which I lived for years. They have a different plan for the Middle East, the Matrix, but it's very dense, and they all do the same thing with their one eye. They slip it into the music videos. Everything's in the music videos. And then when an icon is performing a concert to condition, all C-O-N,
Mhm.
so you consume and conform, I'll stop there. If that's not
Mm.
enough for you, then nothing will ever be enough for you. That should be enough. You're conforming by consuming their conditioning that confines you, right? And constricts you into their spell. They're casting a spell through spelling. They're using the abilities that you have as a spirit being against you. And the veil works against you. That's why they want the children, because the veil thickens at that age. You know, you've heard the subconscious mind, the first 1 to 7 years, especially.
Yeah.
But from what I've been shown from source, it's the first 7 to 18 years. So if you're having children, keep them out of that world for the first 7 to 18 years. The spirit, the being will know when intuitively. It will be a natural experience. Never push them out there, because you were taught, and it's not your fault. This is the program that we're recovering from now. You were taught that that's normal. They need to socialize. But if they disconnect from their true self, and if you throw them out there, we're entities from the lower realm, because you're still not on the new earth. The new earth is being built. It exists, but you're shifting on timelines, which we'll get to what time really is and how that links with death and manifestation, psychic abilities, which are all the abilities humans have, but they stuff you into that constriction. And now to give you, I don't want to slip so far away from the music before I give these details. So the reason when you ask that question, I first mentioned Jesus, is because I want to clarify. When he was tested for 40 days and 40 nights, what is that number? 40.
Yeah.
40 and 40. What is 4? So the numbers that aren't 0 in it are what? 4 and 4. What is that? So with
That's
8, what you got in 8,
Yeah.
first of all, another little twist in the words. I don't usually speak publicly, but the public needs to hear this. 8 is not just infinity. What does 8 also have in it? The word hate carries the number of infinity.
Oh, they use the 808 frequency.
This is correct. That's what I'm leading to. But they like to use 440. What is that? Just like when Jesus was tested, 40, 4, 4, 8. See, it all equals 8. They're duplicating it into 8 because that's a multiplicity of complications for you. Because there's a lower side of infinity, then there's the higher side of infinity. Old earth, new earth. Hate, love, deception, truth. Okay? We are sometimes caught in the middle. You see there's a line there in between both circles, and we have to get here. And then after 8, there's 9. And after that, all the numbers are done. Then it just repeats 1, 0, 1, 1, right? There's no new numbers that humans know about. So that's for a reason. So the relevance of this is they use the frequency 440 hertz. This negates your spiritual abilities. It negates your empowerment and your positivity. And then also 808, these beats that they use, it's all the same exact thing. Now, 808, you take the numbers in it, what do they equal? 8 and 8, they equal 16. 1, 6 is 7. 7 is under the lower side of infinity. They're keeping you tied down. 7 is also linked with Saturn, the ones who do these things with their eyes, and they do these rituals on a stage at a concert. They worship Saturn. You can look up things of them wearing jewelry with Saturn on it. And not just that, clothes, things around them, symbolism. But not just Saturn, y'all. They love the moon. If you look at shows, it doesn't matter what it is, where people are dating each other, getting to know each other. I've seen it in the US and the Middle East and different parts of the world. They put in these shows and movies, there's a hyper fixation on the moon. This is because it's directly linked with your programming, because on the dark side of the moon that you don't see, that's throughout dark light, right? I mentioned here, hate, love, dark light, duality, non-duality, right? The higher purpose of the higher side of infinity, once you get out of that lower field, is so that you're aware of infinity of itself and you're timeless, which is 9, higher mind, higher intelligence, abundance. 8 also is linked with abundance, but they utilize that energy and keep you under that lower side as a servant to the serpent. Then when that's happening, and Jesus overcame that snake, that's because that snake offered him to refute his message and he can stay and have kingdoms. He could have a kingdom. He could have the whole planet, but he said his kingdom is not of this world. What does that mean? He's speaking as consciousness. It's all symbolism, right? He didn't want anyone to worship anything outside of themselves. And this is very important that humans start to understand how correlated that is to the exact monumental moment that humanity is at right now. Because by the year 2030, you're either finished on the old Earth, you probably don't even exist physically anymore, or you're on the new Earth and you've transcended. 2030, maybe even a little before, depending on the vibratory rate of each being, because it's all about it's all about an accumulated focus. It's like right now, you're very in tune with this. There's not, I can tell you're very open to all of these higher.
Oh yeah, I know lots about what you're saying.
Yeah. So like,
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've heard about an
Hmm.
oracle. You know what they are? Women who used to be in a group and they manifest together, they focus, meditate. So right now we're doing that 75% already because we're so focused on truth, right? Which is God and which is source, same word, consciousness, same thing,
Hmm.
all the same thing, awareness, same thing. Your spirit is your direct connection. Your consciousness is your direct connection to God. They take that. That's that
Well, they
is
try
the
to.
they try to with everything they can, especially
Yeah.
music, but also
Hmm. With everything,
everything.
news, every single, like,
The
we know
news
this.
is they're all reptilians. They are reptilians underground. They're not, and they're all repeating the same script. And the best part of all,
Mockingbird media.
yes, look
Hmm.
up if anyone wants to see this. Look up when they start being pixelated extremely. This is the particles of the false projection of a figure they're showing you breaking down. The rational mind, where Satan speaks through you, will tell you that's just a coincidence, it's a glitch. But the truth is that they are having to show you because there's something called the law of balance. The law of balance means you have to see this at certain points of your evolutionary journey, your evolutionary path, or you're not going to have a chance. If you weren't seeing a transmission like this, if you weren't getting all the hints you're already getting, and you wouldn't see this if you weren't aligned on a frequency level. And if you didn't sign something before this life to put you in a situation like this, where you're going to get a big window to actually jump out of the rotation that they've kept you in, that conceptual
Like a
torturing,
loop.
being tormented by a constant, never ending voice. That voice is also outside of you and it curates that world, and all it needs is your interest. So pull your interest back to your higher purpose. That's what I do with my sessions. I work with clients and I remove entity attachments, but it's also so they can connect with their purpose. And astrology reading that I will give, it's also connecting them, because what are the stars? They're above you. So what you got to start to do is fixate on space within and above, and not be only locked in to the lower plane. Because if you're looking at the superficial realm only, they won already. They got all your attention. Your biggest powers, your strongest powers are your openness, your focus to expand, right? So if beings are willing to commit to themselves, I mean, you don't have to do anything specific. It doesn't have to be read a book. It can be open to seeing symbolism in their movies, because their movies are also, they're showing, there's so many things in the movies. It's actually, it would take me a week talking nonstop with you to give you a list of what's in so many of these movies.
Yeah, we stopped watching television 13 years ago. We were done with that. We were like it, but yeah, I mean, not everybody's
Tell
going.
a vision. Tell a
Exactly.
vision. They're
And
telling you the vision they
I've
want you to
known
see.
these things for quite a long time without knowing these things. It just always it sits with me. I was always thinking, I may not have said it, but I've always been pretty open. But not everyone's going to be like that, right? What do you think? Are we going to, like, we need to raise the vibration of consciousness, right?
That's all that's here.
And that's why so many of us are being activated to help do this, because
Yeah.
we're in a spiritual war.
It's been going on for 9,000 years or longer, honestly. Since the end of Atlantis. That's when humans lost their psychic abilities due to the karma, because of what that civilization did. If you want me to speak about it, let me know and I'll speak more about it. But there's a lot with Atlantis that correlates to where we're at now. A lot of symbolism, because they had abilities where, like, they didn't need phones. We have phones now to make up for the abilities that we lost. The species, humans, lost these abilities due to what Atlantis did with the greed. The dark energy took over with doing dark experiments on species, mutating things. They wanted to breed humans with animals. They did it. That's where a lot of things that you know as a myth, none of them are myths. Things like mermaids, these animals, these creatures, these beings, they existed because these civilizations know how to use consciousness But the problem with Atlantis is they started wanting to create their own universes and have experiments and very tormenting things that they were doing to these creatures, making them, they would gather them in a arena and make them fight against each other to the death. They were doing a lot of bad things there at the end, but it wasn't always that. That's what's happened in this timeline. I don't know if you see the theme in the last 10 years or so, even longer, but it's always about war, greed, money, system, deception, right? It's the same force that took over then. It's been on a rerun now. It's looping now. But what doesn't work in their favor is the fact that there are beings like us who put a focus on truth that's so bright that even in the darkest night, that fight will end once they remember their true sight, which is awareness. They have the power. Beings have the power within them. You can create your own reality. This is the point of any video I ever make. It's to get out. Everything on my channel is just a channel of source. That's what I am. I am a channel of source. You are too. Jesus would say, you can do the same things as I. It's just your belief. They took that out, of course, because what does that say? If they kept that in there, then they wouldn't be following paper. They wouldn't be worshiping something outside of themselves on a script. They'd be looking within. They want you without. What does that correlate to what I said earlier? Without. Because when you're without, what is that? Lack. Scarcity. Fear. Red. All root chakra survival state. So we have to really work upward. This is why another thing I do in my sessions is I open the chakras and beings start regaining physical sensations. But I always tell them, maybe you'll have the most magical time now, but Jesus, any being, any enlightened being with abilities, I am just a divine mirror. I'm reflecting back to them what they need to see right now. Anyone watching this, a part of you, the deepest part of you needs to see this because you're not a physical being having a spiritual experience. You're a spirit being having a physical experience, but you've mutated into something lower. That is the symbolism of the story of God. God is having a dream where he forgets himself and now he remembers himself. But you're not God. I am not God. I am an extension of God. There is a major difference in those words. The distinction in that, once you understand that, once you gather that, then you will be much more free because that's what they want. They want to put you in the void so that you avoid your true self and you're constantly in that spiral. And that spiral sends you down into the lower side of infinity. And that's where you have the fear of death, which I know we'll talk about, because death is not what we think. Time is not what we think.
Rad, how did you get here? How were you made to be you? Because you're also a medium, right? You're a medium, astrologer, and a channel, correct? And an energy worker, right? How did you figure this out for yourself? And why I'm asking is, if there's someone in the audience that is like, hey, how do I know? How do I get to be like this? Like, how do I get this? Like, that's like, how did you get there? Because we all were someone prior to being who we are currently, right? How did you get this way? How did you get here? Perfect.
You know, what they call the dark night of the soul.
Yes.
This is not one night. This can be 10 years and it can be a never ending fight until you remember to come back to the light of awareness. So what I've done is devote myself. I was shown very clearly by 1 to 3 appearing individuals in the physical realm that are representative of consciousness through the past many years of going through projections, cycle of death, fear, overcoming the mind, projections, programming, entity attacks. They can alter your dreams because that's the transmitter device they have on the dark side of the moon, the reptilians. And that's what you also have heard of, that they bring souls back. They have many things up there and they have a dark presence there, but the light side of the moon is the intuition, is connected to the ocean. And that's where beings have that more ethereal effect in the physical. So how I got here was through the recognition of myself, because I'm not this body. I told y'all earlier in clear English, in a non-intense metaphysical way, I told you that you say my body, it's a trick. Matrix tricks you. So remember the I am. God speaks I am, then you do the rest, and that's where the illusion is. And that's where that entity with all these songs with the construct, all the things out there, they pull you and they take you away from one example that Spirit just gave me to tell you. It's very
Mm-hmm.
important in this timeline that we start to regain knowledge of astrology, because the irony of that is, you know how they say now, like, okay, certain religions, they will say it's bad, it's haram, it's negative, it's like something, stay away from it, right? That's because, and same thing with crystals. And Atlantis, they actually use crystals for free energy and to create very impactful experiences on a dimensional level to expand reality. Once you learn how to focus, and because there's also free power here, but that's what the pyramids, the ones who put the pyramids there are from Atlantis. I don't want to be so scattered right now, so let me get back to what I was saying. Dark night of the soul, but I'm saying open channel when you devote yourself, because I always tell him, Father, speak through me, right? And what did Jesus say? I and the Father are one. And that's when that entity with these characters around from the Matrix started attacking him more. That's when it started getting closer to the end of his life. And he died at 33. 3 is 6. 6 is 9 flipped. 9 is the higher, like I told you. But when you flip it, what is it? It's
Oh.
lower. So it's pulling you to the lower under 7, and then you get into these lower energy numbers. So you got to evolve higher. But you're not on such a journey. If you utilize the words that are coming through, then you'll understand that even through a dark night of the soul, which I'm talking about, which are these tests. I want to give as many details as possible. The tests of temptation. Every being has to be tempted. Every being is subjected to conditioning. Buddha, Jesus, anyone who had a religion named after them, and they didn't want it to be. It was just eventually made that way. And it's used now as a way to control, C-O-N, control society. I try not to use that word so often because the algorithm may, the entity, they try their best to suppress this, but they can't. And because of creations like this, their power is completely starting to disperse. It's starting to drop. They don't have the same power that they did even a month ago or a year ago. And I'm noticing that, and that's the only reason why I'm even allowed to speak here now, because these things have been so potent for so long in myself, but there's a refinement of consciousness that happens to each spirit, and that's the evolution. You have to refine. You got to keep going through the testing, and consciousness is a mind. You can live, because the old earth is ending, so you're not going to be able to come back and be a human like in this kind of experience, but you can go to other physical planets after this. If you need to keep forgetting things and remembering the same lessons through incarnating with souls around you who teach you things, to not be attached to them, that they represent more of a void, more of the lower mind, right? Disconnect. If they're here to disconnect you, you're here to learn lessons from that, right? Here's another good one. Lessons. You're here to learn lessons. You're lessening yourself, lowering yourself. You're minimalizing yourself. Lesson. Isn't that just leave? Yes, yes. It's always taking your knowledge. Yes, that you have to understand. You have to remember who you are. You have to win yourself back. And who I learned a lot of things from, who just teaches consciousness, because everything I'm talking about on a worldly level is from experience, consciousness experience. But every being has to be guided there, right? So who showed me a lot of things? There's a phrase I heard from him. He says, "Die, but don't be dead." So whoever can catch that is actually going to be free after this transmission. I'm giving it right now clearly to you. Die, but don't be dead. That's a little gift from the universe. If you catch it, then you're actually going to create an immensity of space within you. Because I can leave it for you to figure out, but I'll give you a little more. Like, if you die and you're not dead, what it means is the ego,
The ego dies.
the old self,
Mm-hmm.
the ideas, the concepts, everything that shows up on the screen. Right now, this is a screen, but this is also a screen.
Yeah.
That's duality too. So don't get lost in duality. So understand what's untrue has to die. And
Did
this
you
is,
feel called to come to me, Rad?
yes, yes, there's something very auspicious about your page. I can tell by the layout, by the presence. There's always a presence. Like if someone even goes to any specific channel, they're drawn to it. If someone clicks on my YouTube channel or my TikTok, they're going to see things and they're drawn to it to pick up certain things. They see something from a podcast, anything, from anyone speaking. It's what it's doing is it's unraveling things that have to come out of the system. Because it's a cleansing. You have to be cleansed from
Right.
the program. It has to be
I
removed
just
from.
can feel that from you.
Yeah, it's happening to you right now too, because it's a direct
Yeah.
transmission between the both of us. It's just being shared to the
Yeah.
collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Everyone, one
Yeah.
consciousness.
I don't think I've like people would think I lived in ego, but I have never lived in ego ever in my life. I was I didn't have a good upbringing. I had children when I was young. I've never lived in ego, but people would think that I did, but I don't.
That's
I love
projections.
humanity. Pardon?
That's projections. Like
Yeah,
if they
it
think that
is.
you're living there, that's just projection.
Yeah, I'm not a money person.
I sense you have
Just
a lot of
me.
space. You have a lot of space. Space is the most subtle element,
Yeah,
and you're aware of space, which
yeah.
means that you are interpreting something. It's so subtle you can barely see it. It's space, but it's everywhere, and you feel it more than you see it. But you must be before it. So that's everything I'm
Mm-hmm.
ever speaking or transmitting in a message, in a channeling. Doesn't matter what it is. Through a
What does my energy tell you? Do you know what my energy tells you?
Yeah, you can do. I did. They just showed me actually a light switch on the wall. If you do a light switch, so what you can do is you specifically, you can if once you put like maybe this video or any other video or an accumulation of a multitude of videos, you're doing something where it's gonna click, and once that noise pops when it clicks, it's over. What's over is the illusion. So you're an illusion breaker. So am I. Thanks be to
And
God.
that's what I'm trying to be.
You don't have to try to be. You already are.
Well, I know. I do know that
You have to
actually.
keep applying focus. But it's not, you're not becoming something outside of yourself. You're just remembering who you are, which coincides with what I said a
Absolutely.
minute ago. You have to win yourself back.
That's
Right.
right.
And
Yeah.
let me say something that's coming through now is that the ones who have to go through such a turbulent life where they're tarnished, where they feel very disturbed,
Mm-hmm.
it's because a disturbed entity from that lower plane is trying to make you slip into time. That's why the clock is shaped like a circle. What is the lower side of infinity? A circle. To keep you in a loop,
Mm-hmm.
right? The point of that is so that you're serving a system, lowering yourself, and you're in separation from source. But if you get out of separation, you're in union, you're in oneness, you're in empowerment, and this timeless presence is in that empowerment. So I only ever speak about that. Everything I wrote, I channeled in my book straight from source is leading to the same place. Any information that's uncovered from that realm is so that you can escape the density of the illusion known as the old time paradigm construct on the old earth. That has to end, right? So we're here to end that. It has to end. It's inevitable. Every
I think
story,
it's ending.
yeah, every
I
story
think
has,
that humanity is waking. Do you
it
feel
has to.
that? Do you feel that humanity is waking up though?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I see it. I think sometimes it's a little bit more subtle, but
Mm.
you shouldn't depend on seeing it outside of yourself because then you're just
Mm-hmm.
doing what the entity wants. You're
Mm-hmm.
externalized yourself. I'm here to internalize you. Liberate. I'm
Mm-hmm.
your liberator. Then you become your own liberator and you're liberated. From what? From what? The matrix, the program. It's the
Yeah,
same
the
thing Jesus
matrix.
taught. This is why that entity took out 80 to 95% of his words and has edited that book many times. And they have
Yeah.
religions to, I'll say, influence in a
Mm-hmm.
very deep way. Programming. They say God, vague. They don't say God, and it doesn't have it
Yeah.
doesn't have energy to it. When they say God, it's very superficial. These ones, they most likely represent that realm, or there could be a soul there that's very lost. So that's one of the things I do, like typically like if I'm doing an energy scan on anyone, whether it's in a session or just someone I feel like doing it with. I'm gonna do it for you if you want. Like before any removal or opening chakras, or I can see, and this is also the part of the reading that I do is a palm reading. I don't read the lines. See, what they taught about doing that is wrong. At least for me. I What I do with the palm is I get images sent from other dimensions and timelines
Ooh,
of where beings. beings are connected to other lives at the same time, simultaneous time. Yeah, it's a story of the soul, of the spirit, because you're not your
I
soul. You
think I'm
say,
an old one.
but you're not. The thing is about the soul is you're not the soul, because you also say my soul. This is very subtle. So if you get
Yes.
past this point, you're at the pinnacle of spirituality. Everything I'm talking about, that's the barrier. You get past that barrier, you stop resisting it, then you'll manifest your higher existence. Because you say my soul, my mind, my body. If you answer who the my is, then you've slipped out of the illusion, right? And you don't have to answer it mentally or intellectually, because you see the mind. It doesn't have a fixed location. It's something in between the veil. Right now they're showing me curtains, and they're doing this to the curtain. A lot of shaking on the curtain. That is a disturbed entity. That's a symbolism of what beings will go through when they're going through that dark night of the soul, the testing. It's gonna, because it's used to being in a comfort zone with you submitting yourself to it, right? But an enlightened being, an awakened being can't do that, because you know the saying, when you wake up, you can't go back to being unconscious.
Nope.
It's no, it's not. It's not metaphysically possible. You can try a few times, and it may happen for a few minutes or hours. You won't sustain it, because you've
Yeah.
already raised your frequency. Like, this message has raised your frequency internally, and you can put your belief and focus and emphasize and expand that, or you can let the devil use his energy of doubt and create more separation from truth. But eventually your subconscious will apply these words. So that's why I don't have any pressure with what I say, actually, because of myself or you, because eventually every being has to come to this space. You can keep living lives many times. You can keep going back as long as you need until you get it. But do you want to keep learning the same lesson over and over again? Do you want to keep having your life run by reptilians? Not all reptilians are bad. I don't say that often enough. Most of them are, especially the ones we're dealing with in that industry, and then the ones who create this
The one
program.
percenters.
Yes. They create violence. They create injustice, anger, separation, ego, identification in that process, and then they also feed off of the emotions. So when you get angry, they like that. Fear, they like that. Sadness, they like that also. And humans are so incredible, because you can feel such a multiplicity of emotions and feelings just in the same day, just in the same
Aren't they, though?
few
Aren't they,
moments.
though?
Yes, and other beings can't do that. A lot of other species that exist on other planets, they cannot feel the same way. They're much more neutral, observant. But humans were initiated on a DNA level, on a mental level, on a metaphysical level, most of all, to be tuned into all the forces. That's why, since, like, if you open your channel all the way and you focus on this path by committing to yourself through dropping the old, through watching videos, through shifting away from any false program like you did by stopping watching, you know, these
Oh yeah. No,
this destruction.
I'm in charge of what goes in here.
Exactly.
Interesting that it just came to me right now, what you said earlier about starting the channel. It
Yeah.
just hit me. Like, I did just got something say the channel that, and I'm like, what? And I had to write it down. I'm like, the channel. Oh, wow. The channel.
Yeah.
Wow. I like how you put that together.
It's all the words, spelling, casting spells,
That's
spelling.
excellent.
Yeah. It's a channel. But you know something else that links with channel? A radio, you're tuning to different frequencies. So when you open your channel, so what I was saying a minute ago about beings starting to commit to themselves. If you have a resistance with, either you don't want to stop working for that system, or you're locked in something, whether you believe that you're in debt to the system, or you have to hold on to money, or you're holding on to your trauma, or you're identified with your family, you're identified with your ego, your mind, you're identified with things that make you so physical, so dense, so disconnected from truth, then what's going to happen is you're going to keep delaying yourself. Eventually, you have to let go of those cords, energy cords. So, like, this is the premise of someone, as an example. If they do a session with any being, it doesn't have to be me. I don't mind. The most important thing is that beings let go of these toxins, right? The venom from the snake has to be let go from the system. So what happens is, like, I'll give you a quick example. Like, recently I removed an energy cord from someone that was behind the crown chakra linking to the spine, and it took a few minutes, and focusing in the session unravels. The session moves where it's supposed to, just like this is moving where it's supposed to. And when I removed it, this individual struggled with physical movement. They couldn't lift their arms for a long time before this session, months, maybe years, at least months. And then after I removed this, within 10 minutes, they're doing this. Very purposeful that I mentioned that, because not on purpose mentally, but the universe did that, because I never give examples of my sessions. I feel like I never, it's private for most beings, and I'm not naming anyone, so it's okay. But I usually leave it in its own folder in the universe. The sessions, every channel, every transmission video, once it's done, it's done. But this came through, and that's for you to hear. So what I'm being told to do is to something with the crown chakra, to move it through your system. I don't know if you want to do it now, but that would take, what you have to do is, you have to, what Jesus would do is, he would meditate with these beings, with whoever he's healing, because what's going to happen is your system has to also awaken. The body is the vehicle for consciousness. So your body has some blockages through the ties into the old realm. Maybe unknowingly they're there. It's not your doing that they're there. That's the program. So to drop that paradigm, these energy cords, you remove it. I'm sensing that you have certain things like tying your, from the spine back down into the lower plane, trying to pull you down, and that's creating a stiffness in the layers of this
Oh,
area,
it's really
as you were
bad in
saying.
this shoulder. Yeah,
Yes,
it's super bad.
that's where
Um,
using light comes in, because you have abilities with. Oh, I mean internally
my
visualizing light.
internal. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes, it's more powerful, because what you're doing is
Okay.
you're calling it directly from the universe and from
I
God.
can do that.
Yeah, so like you open this. Do you ever feel physical sensations here or here?
Yeah, I see through there. So I have my level 2 Reiki. So yeah, I can bring this in and try to help heal myself. I can do that. And yes, I see through my third eye.
Yes. So what you should do now, I'm sending you something. I don't know if you're going to feel, you should feel a bit of a tension here, moving from around one of the sides to the third eye area, and then also the top of the head a bit. Do you feel anything happening there?
I felt like my head was hot.
Okay. So everything has a different effect. So
Mhm.
it's not always a copy. So, okay. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down through this area. I actually feel tension now for the first time that I can ever remember here.
It's bad. Yeah.
I have a lot of tension here. Okay. That's the divine
Hmm.
mirror. So it just reflects it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down. It's all your belief, right? I want to say one thing, because it's all just um, transmitting. Anyone seeing this, your belief is everything. So if someone says, oh, it's just because, the rational mind speaks for you and says, oh, it's just because he's like making you believe that you're healed. But you made yourself believe in all of their false knowledge. So should you believe in the truth of the healing of God within and your boundless nature, or should you believe in limitation? That's your choice. I'm telling you the truth. That's your choice. So right now I'm feeling an immense pain here once I started connecting more with the energy
Hmm.
body. So I'm going to
Now I
push.
can feel it in my jaw. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I'm going
weird.
to push down. So this is the places where you're holding energy. So you should visualize with me for about 20 seconds, a white light going from the crown chakra down, and let that remove a lot of it. I'm going to send a lot of extra energy with that. So you should feel it. I feel a heat with it now in that right area. But there's a deep pain here. So you got to move that out of the body. Let the light pass through it on a cellular level. Does it feel lighter now?
Sorry. Yeah. I could feel it in my back
Yeah, it's
coming
moving out.
around the
Yeah,
shoulder blade in the back.
I know. I feel it too. But
That's better.
what we just did is I'm going to explain
Mm,
metaphysically what happened. We pushed the light through, like we said, and then there was a focus for about 30 seconds. And there's a reason they don't teach the children this. But the new earth teaches children this. You teach your children now. You don't send them out there to learn it, and then the world will be a much better place because it's conscious beings communicating through
you're right.
energy, not just a currency, which will fade. So stop being attached to how much you spend, because I know this is very difficult, but it connects to the energy healing because it's a blockage, because the system is tying you down to that density, creating a constriction for those trauma bonds, trauma wounds that create vortexes. Each vortex holds you down to a lower level. So there's trauma points in the body. So what we did is we moved white light from source down. I don't use white light so much. I use whatever's color coded with the chakras. So crown chakra, I was told to use that for you down because it's going to correlate down
Mm,
through the spine. Each chakra is connected with the spine, right? Do you know about Kundalini?
yes,
So the
I've
snake,
had that happen to me.
yeah, the
Yeah.
snake wraps around the spine. That's because these chakras are located in alignment with the spine. So you got to get out of the root chakra living and you're just fixated on the materialistic world, consuming density, money, fear, survival state, accumulations, possessions, being possessed by possessions, entity
Mm,
attachment, which is the whole thing we're doing is removing entities. And each being will start to learn it for themselves the more they focus. You can go and get a session done with me, with anyone that you sense is true with their abilities, and it will be done. But more important than that is you start to pull your focus. So, in your belief. So, like, you can be fully healed today. You can feel right now as we're talking, you can
it's getting.
reflect
Hmm.
your focus, multitask. You can do it on a
Okay.
spiritual level and keep I'm feeling things here. I'm feeling things like around this area
That's
with
where
you,
I'm
that
feeling it now, right here.
right here.
Yeah,
We both
that's
have the left
exactly
side,
where I'm feeling it. Yeah.
and the left side
Hmm.
is the past. So it's things from the past
Mm,
that you accumulated. They have to be moved out. So this is
good.
also throat chakra. So use the blue light energy. I always use a blue vortex. What that's going to do is it's going to open up
Mm,
because this is where you speak the truth. And this is also linked. This connects all the lower chakras to the higher. So you got to have this active and they want to block it. So with children, what they'll do is they'll block the solar plexus, which is here, right here, solar plexus, because that's your confidence. It's also color coded with yellow, golden light, sun.
mm,
Sun, left side, masculine. Moon, right side, feminine. Past, left, present,
present.
right.
Hmm.
So, whatever side you're getting errors, pain, things that are occurring, messages from the body speaks to you. The cells are living in their own universe. They're like the stars in a universe, and you are the
Mm,
universe as consciousness. And this is what we have to start to show children, keeping them in solitude so that the body needs 7 to 18 years to get used. The soul needs 7 to 18 years. The spirit needs 7 to 18 years to get used to the bodily experience, because many souls, many spirits like myself have never, especially in this timeline, haven't lived a physical life before, or they're new to it. Some, they adapt quicker. They're used to that spiral, but they're more lost in the loop of karma. Jesus would always say these humans are caught on that wheel of karma. And he would make comparisons with analogies in nature, like a water drop. It's a reflection, right? Look at the shape of a water drop. It's all because it's coming down. Water is one of the most original elements of God. This is why they've done so much to influence the water that we consume. Because, yeah, because that is like really reflected a pure consciousness, which is what an enlightened being lives as. So right now, like, because my channel is so open and I'm so focused, I'm going to give you all a very practical, worldly way of how to use this. Today, I was not so much in this state. I was a little bit more dense than usual. Then we started this, and we spoke for like 20 minutes before, and there was a potency happening. And you saw me do an energy cleansing with
hmm.
incense. You all need to get incense. You need to get crystals. Don't buy them unconsciously. Feel what it feels right.
That's right.
Look
That's
up
what I
the
do.
benefits.
Mhm.
Each crystal is color coded. Get a blue crystal for this area. Get a purple crystal for this area. White crystal for this area, right? Each color. Green, heart chakra. This is where the soul is. But there's a such thing as walk-ins. So you can have 10 souls in one life, 7, 4. It just depends on your human experience. That's when the soul gets so tired, it's done its part. It has to be replaced, replenished with new energy to move forward on that path, to keep expanding. It's okay
Mm,
because you're not your soul. It's just parts from the universe helping you.
That's
We
right.
got to not be identified with soul. This is a very basic spiritual thing that we got to remove ourselves from. You disassociate in a healthy way from the body. That's true spirituality. There's false spiritual ones out there who say shadow work. You have to work with the ego, integrate it. No, you dissolve the ego. Your true
That's
awakening is
right.
in the dissolution of the false. So when you dissolve the ego, when it starts to spark up, it starts to reactivate through the program. You're going to notice it, and your discernment will create clarity through the
That's
contrast, the
right.
recognition that you are not this body. I cannot die. The body dies, but I'm not the body,
So
right?
where do
Because
you think the soul, I'll say, goes? Heaven? Is there a hell, or is there a construct? Is there um obviously I've heard many different I when I had my near death, I was in a black void with Jesus. So Jesus came to me in a black void. But my question is, once you're done with this earth, where do we go? Where does our soul go from here?
you go wherever you've opened yourself to on a metaphysical level as consciousness. The consciousness moves, just like when you're going to other realms when you rest at night. You go half of the time where the subconscious wants you to go, where you need to see things you haven't let go of, or to experience benevolent ethereal realms. In the same moment as now, you're only ever now. When you're in a dream, you don't usually know it's a dream. Typically, you believe that you're just there. That's because the effects of the psychological mind, the ego that was curated here so much, is not so prominent there. So a dream, you're typically a little bit more present, right? And more in the moment. And sometimes it feels very fast. Sometimes it's slower. Time is only a vibration. This is all going to connect with death. Time is just a vibration. So like this interview, it's been an hour, feels like about 25 minutes.
That's right. It
Okay.
does.
This is because time is a vibration. We're on a very high vibration right now. So, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
notice now in the recent time in life, most of y'all, the recent months, time is moving extremely fast, suspiciously fast. This
It
is
is
because
right now, isn't it?
there is a mystical
Mm-hmm.
presence that is eliminating that density, and you can't do anything about it. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing things like this, if you're focusing, the more you keep devoting yourself and not allowing yourself to be blocked from only experiencing your expansion, your spiritual truth, don't allow limitations or construct of fear, of attachment, of money, of anything, any
That's right.
construct. Don't allow anything like that to keep you from this illumination, this
Mm-hmm.
transcendence. Because when you transcend that lower force, you're not going to have a fear of death. So to answer your question, heaven, hell, you experience it here. Fear puts you to hell.
Yes.
People say hello. That's a conditioning to make you're telling everyone hell and you're low on the lower plane of existence in hell. They tricked you, Matrix. Say hi instead, or say
Mm-hmm.
other spiritual phrases. Skip that one, okay? Because that one's a very negative one. It's a very bad one.
Same
Uh,
as good morning.
yeah, yes, thank you for that
Mm-hmm.
reminder. This is not one I
Yeah.
will focus on so much.
Yeah. I really
Um,
try not to say that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, English is the darkest language of all, but it also allows for the most immense, that's a duality. It allows for the most immense spiritual expansion because once the
Mm-hmm.
law of balance, once you notice these things, like through me, it's showing on your life. In your life, you're
Mm-hmm.
noticing it through what's happening now. There's an emphasis happening on the
Mm-hmm.
words. A lot,
That's right.
20% of what we spoke about is just words, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
because it's all in the words. It's all in the words, everything. But more powerful than words are numbers.
Oh, I love numbers.
They're more powerful than words. My reality is just, my reality is just numbers. Like I'll give y'all a quick example. Uh, okay. So like right now, when I said my reality, I looked and it's 3:30 p.m. 3 is 6. That means I'm shifting the lower energy of 6 into the 9 by
Mm-hmm.
giving this reflection. The percentage of this laptop is 16%. What did I say about the entity?
Ooh.
16, 7, 167. They love 7. So I'm 6 and 7, the two numbers I just told you. Shifting them out of the 6 and 7, what's next? 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get out of 8, get above it, transcend it, and you're at 9, then you're timeless. 9 is the higher mind, God. 6, what do they usually link 6 with? The devil.
That's right. I
All
don't know
sim-
if but is it though? 666. Is it linked to that?
to an extent. If you allow
Yeah.
that entity to have so much power, yes.
That's
But
right.
eventually you notice it cannot exist without you plugging into the matrix. You have
Right.
to unplug from that and plug back to your source. You're
That's right.
always with your source. Because if that source disconnects for one moment, it's done. This whole life will disperse. That's one of my gifts is, and through several of the first ego deaths, there's symptoms that beings will go through. Like for me, it was shakiness. I felt the entire reality collapsing, the particles disappearing from any embodiment around me, my own body disappearing, death. Yeah, that's all about ego death, overcoming the fear of the ego fearing death. So this was a big part of that process. And I can go ahead and share with you now. I feel called to do it about what I mentioned before we started, about how I was shown clearly how to get to the point where you die. Every being, you have the right, your birthright is to know when this body will die. What I am was never born and it does not die, but this body does. So let's get to the point. When does the body die? If you focus on a meditation within, through intention, put your attention on communicating with the angel of death. He exists in a non-physical way. He can show up in your peripheral vision. When you call upon him, first you say, I was shown by a very auspicious being who appeared to me one day and disappeared. This being, subsequently, my life has been shifting more and more to live how he appeared as, which is just like in the essence of God, very detached from the old realm, living in a more natural way, peaceful, present, simple, but connected to higher knowledge and uses it when you were meant to. But I was much younger than physically, 21, and this was an older man, at least 20 years older probably, maybe less, that showed me something. And I've used it almost every night. And it's not something I usually share. It's in my book that will be out there in the coming months when it's supposed to be. Whenever it's supposed to be, you will see it. You'll have access to it. It's all, this is one part I'll give you here. I don't usually speak it, but I want to here. If you say, you meditate, and you say, I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the feelings, I'm not the emotions. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. Connect them all to the body points, go down. Link the body, okay? Circle it. I'm not this. Then you can add whatever you're called to. I'm not the labels. I'm not the ideas. I'm not the memories. We're living a life based on memory. Drop the memory too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't be attached to the memories because that also can pull you down into despair, into density. It's a lot
Well,
of fear
yeah,
there.
it's not allowing you to be in the now either if you're living in the past, right?
Correct. That's the point of
Yeah.
the clock because
Yeah.
they want to keep you in the future and past that don't
Back
exist.
there or in the future. So that's why people have so much anxiety and they stress about the future and then they cry about the past.
Right. So
But they're missing living now.
the point of this method is to take you so much in the now that you can
Yeah.
transition yourself to the transition of death. So you will go and see where the body is being put away into the earth. You will see the ones there around you saying goodbye. You will see whatever scene it's supposed to be. And you will get used to seeing it each night, day, whenever you're called to do it. Let me finish. I didn't finish what I was saying a minute ago. You say, I'm not this, I'm not the mind, I'm not the body. Start in the order of what I said. I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the emotions, I'm not the feelings. You link them, you say whatever else you want to say. Then after you called the angel of death in the beginning, you say it again, you affirm that he's there. You'll see him. You will see him or you'll feel him. It goes back and forth, but you can see him there as a energy, a presence. He will take you through a golden pyramid that's very small. It's a traveling device used from other dimensions. It appears small here, but for them, it's just a normal ship. And it takes you as awareness to your death point, and it can go through dimensions very easily. It's a very powerful device. So you will transition from that device into that point where you're seeing your death, and you're going to view it as an observer. I want to simplify what I'm saying
Okay.
because it may be it's a
Yeah,
little too much for me.
exactly.
If you're not so advanced spiritually, I don't want to complicate it so much. So just realize you're seeing the point of death for this body and you're accepting it. You're seeing the body, you're saying goodbye to it. There's no life in it anymore. Right? So when that's happening, you're letting go. That's detachment and that you're overcoming the ego. So the fact that you're seeing all this right now, the fact that you're doing that whenever you do that practice, the amount of space you've created from that old life, the deception is so immense. And you're not just doing it through learning from someone. You're also doing it through direct spiritual practice. So when you have that direct spiritual practice, you emphasize your evolution and your awakening, and you enhance yourself. When you enhance yourself, you remember your true self, you reach true self-empowerment. That's the whole point of what I do. I work for God. Because if I'm ever asked, like, what do you do? I say I work for God. If you want to test an entity around you, you really want to make them agitated or see what they are, say, who do you work for? That's a little trick I give beings. Say, who do you work for? They hate it because they know deep down and they can't lie. You make them uncomfortable at the bare minimum, and you can watch them agitate. Because when that aggravation point happens, you're seeing an entity speaking for it, and you're seeing that inner battle, or you're seeing the projections of the false energy that's there. Because there are hollow bodies here. Majority are not real. The amount of beings that exist on a single earth are not what you think. There are many humans existing, experiencing lives, but we've got to have that remembrance occur of the awakening of the collective consciousness. That comes through the utilization process of this higher knowledge and living metaphysically, not just physically.
Raad, do you have a message directly from Source for all that is watching today? Can you do that? Go right into channeling?
You're not anything that they've shown you that you are. Wake up to what's really here. What is here has no fear. It does not adhere to time. And it is not fixed in one position or form. It is formless, and it can adapt to any field of perception. As long as you remember you're the perceiver, you give the universe room to work, but you got to drop your limitations. So don't be afraid to follow your passion. Invest in this, purchase this. It doesn't matter what it is. Don't be attached to money. A big thing in the collective right now is they have to overcome the construct of money, right? One thing I've been making videos recently about a little bit more is that channeling this is that you can alter the perception and meaning of money very quickly. If you say, okay, I'm going to start looking at $1,000 like $100, you're already making a major step of breaking the system. Because they used to have you think $1,000 is like worth a big part of your life, or it means something. There's going to come a point where currency doesn't even exist in 10 years, 3 years. It doesn't matter when, it will happen. But in the meantime, start breaking it down. Right? Think about all the meaningless things, the mundane things you bought for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. You should be able to invest $500, $1,000 in yourself. Buy a bunch of books. Do an energy session with any healer you see that you're drawn to. Buy a camera if you want to film yourself speaking truth. Like, invest in things that are creating from your true space. Because if you're only stuck buying in that loop, you have to stop trading yourself. This shouldn't be a trade where you're giving yourself for lower things. Only choose to focus on the higher, and the universe will reward you for that 10 times over. But you have to start to remove those fears of being without. What does it come back to? What we've been saying. They keep saying this. Without. Yep. If you're outside of yourself, if you're in lack, saying, I spend this, or if I lose this, or if I'm without, but you're already without because you're externalizing yourself. If you're within, it's all here already. Since there's infinite timelines, you can go anywhere at any time through awareness, because any being exists through your awareness now. So if it's hundreds of years ago, you can communicate with a being that lives there now. If they're very centered, if they're very present. I do this frequently with Nostradamus. Only when I have to, not frequently, but when I'm called to. I can also do it with Jesus. He is 2,000 years ago, but he exists there, and he's so ethereal that you can actually communicate with him out of his body. When he was being tortured at the end of his life, he wasn't even fully in his body. He was detached from a lot of the senses. That's an ability that you gain. So you can communicate telepathically with any being you're called to that lived as a human. Anyone that you were connected to that you think dies, they don't die. They're always here with you as consciousness, as a spirit being that you're connected to.
Do you
So
think that they're just in another dimension beside you?
yes, I know
Like
it.
literally that we as humans, obviously we can't see, some of us can, but just right there, say, right?
They're so close, but your human eyes are so limited. That's why you got to use this one. That's why they
That's
do
right.
everything they can to block this one, because if they block this one, then you're not seeing the energies of the ethereal realm. You're only seeing what they want you to see, which is the fear, the news, the reptilian agenda, the programming, the consumerism, the buying things, the being caught in the construct system of always having to worry about your bills and paying things, externalizing yourself, being without. That's what they want you to focus on. But when you're done just using these will enhance a bit, but this especially will enhance it because you're seeing through dimensions. You're seeing, like what I told you about myself, seeing particles. You can visualize the cells. You can create 1,000,000 cells in 1 minute. You can create 1,000,000 cells. What does that mean? You are creating a new structure in the body to
Mm-hmm.
enhance your embodiment, your abilities, your beingness. What did I say earlier? The body is a vehicle for consciousness. So be very connected with it. Don't move around dead. Die, but don't be dead. So don't be like disconnected from yourself, because when you're disconnected from your body or your purpose or truth, you're disconnected from source. You're disconnected from source. You're living the life that that entity wants you to live, the reptilian agenda, the ones that are
Mm.
cloning these icons and creating this duplication process of
Yeah, there's
dark.
a lot going on in the
Is it?
world.
Yeah, but that world is ending. The old earth shall
Yeah.
cease. Will you die
Oh,
on it,
yeah.
or will you ascend and live on the new earth? That's why you're
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
calamities and things, certain things happening, and fears about this,
Yes.
resistance, a lot of things on a worldly level kind of happening in an intense,
Mm-hmm.
violent way. That's a test. Will you get caught up in that, or are you ascending past that separation, anger, ego, violence? That's a lower vibration. This is
Yeah.
this is where this civilization of the recent years has been caught up in, because they're in that state of war. They're in that state because it's all about resisting truth. It's all about separation from source, getting fixated on your enemies. But
Yeah, they've been wanting to do that for many, many years when they started taking it out of the schools. I mean, we could go on and on and on. They've a lot of there's I just feel that um they just tried to get you away from that. Even if you didn't know who they were. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I
You
understand.
still knew something was going on. Now let me ask you, Rad, do you have 5 tips you could give the listener to help them in their daily
Mm.
life?
Do what I just did. That's tip number one. Connect with your chakras, connect with your body. Don't let your chakras be closed or inactive, because then the enemy, the true enemy, can use your body against you, can make you more dull, more disconnected, add more of those energy cords I was talking about earlier, which we worked on. We moved light to lessen those blockages, and you felt this energy become much lighter than before just through a few seconds of focus. Imagine with 10 minutes of intense energy work what you can do with light movement. So connect with the body and move the light. Visualize colors. That's the first one. Connect them with the chakra points. The second tip would be similar. Recognize the numbers that you see in a car in front of you, that you see on the clock, the elusive clock. The battery percentage right now is on 9%, 9 higher mind. So you got to learn to look at these things, because it's always in front of you. The universe communicates through numbers first. Sensations, vibrations, numbers. Look at the numbers. Also with that, I would say crystals. Use crystals. These energies, keep them around you. Center yourself by knowing how to recognize the signs that are given to you from the external, but it's actually an internal reflection as a reminder. The third tip I would say, learn your astrology chart. Come to me or go to someone else. I mean, I do it in a way that's the most expansive that probably exists on this planet right now, because I use the chart, and this is how I was shown internally mostly, and how I developed through many readings I use a chart and I connect the dots of where it's at. And then you can also, because I also combine it with the palm reading and other intuitive guidance, all these senses. So what happens is when you learn your chart, you're going to say, okay, oh, so I've got an 8th house that has 3 prominent aspects in it: Moon, Sun, Mercury. I am so connected with death. I've had to overcome the fear of death early. I've been exposed to death constantly in my life. I'm connected with the esoteric realm. I feel deep passion energy. I have a lot of that darkness that's trying to make itself known in this life. The darkness is where that regeneration transformation happens, because the light expands and mutates and transmutates into the formless. This is where the space, the dark and the light meet to create that space where you enhance and you detach from the untrue. And that's the only part that's actually integrated. The ego is the illusion, the shadow. If you do this and then you see the shadow in front of you, it's an illusion, because this is the body. That's a reflection, an elusive reflection. That's not actually you. So don't integrate what's not you, right? I mean, so let's get real here. So that's the 3rd step. Learn your chart. Jesus used astrology with his closest followers, disciples, to understand who to put out together when he was sending them out in pairs, a man with a woman. Half of them were women. They don't say that now, but they sent them out. He sent them out towards the end of his life to teach the same thing he does, but in pairs. And he would link them to the synastry of the astrology chart, which is something I know how to do. I can see it. How are these charts linked to the houses, the signs, the planets, degrees? This is just a star energy when the body was born physically. When you went into the physical realm and it was created, the alignment with you and the sun, the stars, the planets. The sun is just a portal for source. It's not what we think it is. Beings live in that energy. Each star is also that. So shouldn't you be knowing the connection of your embodiment, which is correlated to these energies? Right? They're much more powerful. Anyone with intuition will look up at night and say, yeah, there's something definitely much more powerful out there. Right?
Oh,
It's basic.
absolutely.
It's basic. Now the ego, that realm, will have you fixated on materialism and make you think, oh, this world is powerful, money, possessions. But these things, it can be taken away in an instant. Someone has $1 million. If someone lights a fire, your fortune is gone. So don't have your fortune only on the false, So connect with that. That's higher knowledge. I'm going to leave it on 3 steps. Those 3 steps were extremely potent.
Okay.
If they follow those 3 steps,
and then when I have you back next time, maybe you can give us some more every time.
I will
That
definitely
would be,
do that.
I like that idea.
I would say that I need to make it clear with you that there's no one specifically here. This is very esoteric what I'm saying here, and I feel you, since you're so open, I can speak it. This may trigger someone's mind because they're not used to hearing someone speak like this, but there's no one specific here, meaning I'm not claiming it. Because I'm not claiming that I am the doer, I'm not the doer. It's just happening. I've gone through such a refinement and focus over the years of letting go of the false, of detaching, of going through the pain, right, of what you can't have. I wasn't allowed to be mixed so much because that would have created more distortion, and then I wouldn't have been able to do this. But I'm not the doer. So I wouldn't have been able to remove the one that claims so much. You don't want to cling to thinking that you are the owner of anything. Like, you don't own your children, as an example. They're not something you possess. That's why someone wise will tell you, like, the parents also learn from their children, right? Because, and you guide them, but don't send them out there. Like I said earlier, because out there, that is the shadow realm. We are not in the new earth yet. You don't know where you're sending these innocent babies. Why do the babies cry when they're in the body for the first time? They're sensing everything. They're born typically around in a public space with possessed entities, dark shadow figures. They're absorbing all the energy already. They're freaked out. First time separation from source, the veil. I mean, if they lived other lives, so it's not the first time, but it feels like the first time always, because you always, boom, you forget right when you start. So they're crying because they're sensing that the veil is thickening. Then they already picked up trauma from the mother, unhealed. Then they already got the generational karma, the entity, and then they got these dark figures around them. So you got to be very specific with where that child is brought into the world, because that's how you create the new earth, by allowing the children and yourself simultaneously to shift into a subsequently higher reality, where your reality is not bound to space and time. You are aware of space and time, and you notice how 99% of what you see is an illusion. That's why it's perfectly cool that you see a man here saying there's no one here doing this, because it would be an illusion anyway, because your false self always dies. You always are letting go of parts of yourself. You're not the same person you were a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 3 years ago, 8 years ago. I'm telling
Are
you,
you saying that you're not there right now? Is this
there's
a
no one,
figment
there's no one
of
specifically
my,
here.
yeah.
Yes, physically, it is also in your imagination, which links to children. Because what does the world take from children? Imagination. Your imagination is your gateway to source. That's your empowerment. But I'm also telling you on an internal level, there's no ego here claiming, saying, I
That's right.
am this one teaching this. No, I am just a reflection for something much higher because my life
That's
is a
right.
devotion to
You're
that.
channeling and pushing,
Correct.
right?
And the discernment through the awareness, the refinement knows when to push and when to stop. I don't know if if
Okay.
anyone's looked at this metaphysically, this whole video, there's been a lot of this going on. Very, very perfect in harmony, because we can never overdo it if it's in tune, if you channeled it properly. Like before this, I did an energy cleansing. It wasn't a messy channeling. I made sure to enter a very being in tune with you, to attune myself to source, because I would be doing you a disservice if I did not do that before any video or especially any interview, because there's a dualistic occurrence through shared focus. That's what I
Thank you for
mentioned about
that.
an oracle earlier, because they'll be in a group
Mm-hmm.
manifesting. That's where they pick up intuition about what will happen in a timeline near, how they guide, seeing the future. That's all that is. It's just sensing things around, picking up on energies, getting signals from source. Visions from source is what I get from palms when I'm doing a reading for someone in the accumulation of what the session is. And everything I'm sensing these things is because you're opening, open, open, open. These need to be open. I have
Boy,
been
am I
very,
having a deja vu right now. I'm sorry. I just got a really huge deja vu. Wow.
yes, that I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I want to say what that is. That is your
Wow.
being telling yourself that nothing is what you think. It's a reminder that you will see everything at some point again. You will do a life review. You will
Yes,
see
your
things
life,
from
my
a higher
life review.
perspective eventually, but
That
you
was
also,
really strange. I've seen you before.
yeah, and you see it before this life also, because you agree to all of this, and then you see it after as a life review. Synchronicity. So I affirm on the behalf of your true self that oneness will only reside here, and you will thrive the more you strive to be only in the internal. Don't be lost in the external or limitations or lack or resistance. When you resist, when you contract as consciousness, you're creating a lot of space for the enemy to come in and claim you. But the ego, the devil, ego mind, person, matrix, reptilian agenda, it's all the same force. I want to be clear. Use whatever word you want. Same thing I said about God, awareness, source, spirit, consciousness. Okay? Duality, light and dark. You got to discern what it's trying to do. So this whole interview, I have not let it come through. I've only been speaking from here, which
Mm-hmm.
is the illumination beyond fear. So you will persevere beyond the false appearances of the enemy. Projections, they project a lot of things on you. So be wise and notice moments where you feel like you've been here before. It happens
Mm-hmm.
rarely, but the more you're refining, you'll notice the potency of it. These are great awakening points. Utilize each moment. Someone very wise will use this interview to shift the trajectory of their life.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. I hope you will come back and have, like, literally hope you come back and we take it in a different direction. I would love to hear more of what you had to say. Where are we on your computer right now? What number?
4.
Wow.
4 is fortune. Fortune. Fortune is your higher fortune, but don't be caught under the number 5.
Yeah.
5 has a dark energy, but it also symbolizes change. But 5 is what? The in-between point between 1 and 9. So don't get under 4. Use your true fortune, which is not just of the material realm. Source will bring it. Open yourself through affirmations, notes, right? Write things, type things to yourself. However, don't get lost in the lower side of 4, which is the fixation on the material realm. What does that sound like? 440 hertz, 40 days and 40 nights.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, but then there's a duality, fortune. You see the word, it has 4 in it, fortune. Your true fortune is that Jupiter energy, that abundant, benevolent source that is giving. So this is everything's abundant. You have such an abundance in this message. You accumulated more knowledge in one interview than maybe you would have in 100 years. And I don't mean that in an egoic way. I mean it in a transmission of a lot of hidden things, hidden purposely from you, hidden, that now have been unveiled. So we're here. I am here to remove your veil. Then I'll disappear. I just want to remove your veil because then you'll thrive. The veil
And
is where they.
the teacher's gone, the lessons learned, hey?
Yes, yes, this is very true.
Raad, how does someone get a hold of you or get in touch with you? Do you have any offerings or services that you do that can help others?
I have a few ways of finding what I transmit. I make YouTube videos. I channel them. I also want to say one thing before I continue that I didn't mention. The letter I, when you decode words and letters and numbers, and you go in the alphabet, which is actually they don't teach the children this on purpose, but when you connect the letters with the numbers, which is what that lower society does, a secret society who's influencing them, influencing the world, they use numbers. Everything when someone dies, when something significant happens, and those famous icons, idol, they're a doll, meaning they're being used. What do they do? What does someone do with a doll or an icon? They're conning you. So anyway, they do things with numbers and words purposefully. Their names, the dates, everything. So you can do something with simple. The letter I is the 9th letter in the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. What did I tell you all about 9 earlier? 9 is God. So your I am is directly connected with God. It's very important that you understand you have complete reference within you to truth if you remember who you are. I am. So if you want to regain more senses, you can find me on YouTube or on TikTok under the name Raad Enlightenment. This is where videos are transmitted. They are all for free. If you want to do a session directly where you'll have access to this window, to this reflection, which I only recommend to ones who are fully ready to remove the false and shift to their higher timeline and will not have resistance, because you can't be attached to your old self, to your memories, to your trauma, to the fear, to money, to projections through programming. You can't be attached to any of that and do something with.
So basically people have to do their inner work before.
Yeah, no one's going to
they
even
try.
come close to seeing something like this creation unless they're already on that path. But if you want to work directly with me through a session, you can contact me through radenlightenment@gmail.com. Maybe you can put it in the description of this
I
video.
will absolutely have your information, all of your links in the description below for sure. And we hope to have you back, Raad, because this was excellent. I'm really taken by this. I enjoyed this a lot.
This was the correspondence of God and the universe speaking through a channel, and you can all be a channel today. Focus on your evolution in every way that's available to you possible. And let
That
go
is
of
the
it.
best message you could ever say.
Yeah, that's the closing message, unintentionally. Yes.
Right? Okay. Raad, thank you so much for your experience and your cosmic wisdom today, your dedication to awakening, and your courage to speak about the deeper truth is inspiring. And it truly, truly is.
Thank you.
And to those watching, I hope today's interview opened your mind, challenged your beliefs, and inspired you to dig deeper into your own journey of awakening. Remember, you don't have to accept everything. Trust your inner knowing, ask questions, and explore what resonates with you. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.